Martinez, who heads up a group called Action Ecologica. I'll preface this by saying there are a lot of bad guys in mining, but this is getting crazy. She proposes that they have a program called Keep the Oil in the Soil, and that Ecuador or some NGO receive money so that they don't produce oil.
No. That's what George Soros is saying. They will give payoffs to the governments not to develop and not to bring resources out, because then it creates artificial scarcity because the globalists already control most of the resources. So by shutting down other people, remember Bill Clinton in 1996, 97, the only clean-burning coal in North America was in Utah, in just a small area, but tons of it, enough to run the U.S. for over 100 years. And he signed an executive order for the environment to block that. That made Chinese coal, that he and others owned part of, the only other big place in the world to have this clean coal, because it's much cheaper to burn, because your scrubbers don't have to be as complex to get the mercury and other phosphates, what's the yellow colored chemical, sulfur, to scrub that out. And so, see, by making that coal off limits, that more than doubled the Chinese coal. Bob Chapman, you want to comment on this?
Well, it's exactly the way it happened, and that was a gift to the Chinese, and of course, they get paid off. I mean, the skullduggery that has gone on is just incredible. I mean, these are the inside stories that you're just not going to get from the major media, which these people own.
And, of course, a useful idiot like Robert Redford that went out there and stopped it from happening, he goes home and feels good. He doesn't know that he's contributing to energy loss and genocide worldwide because this hurts the third world the worst. Go ahead.
Well, I think there are a lot of people in the environmental and green area that mean very, very well, but they just don't understand some of the things that we do, and when you tell them, most of them don't want to listen, unfortunately. I mean, they're steadfast in what they believe in, and I think they should be more selective. And it's a shame, because when you have a big name, because you're a movie star or something of that sort, people tend to listen to you, whether you're qualified or not.
David, anything else?
Yes, sir. I remember this. There was this company called Gabriel Resources. They had this huge mountain in Romania. It's been used since the Roman Empire. It's already a brownfield area. And they have these George Soros NGOs lobbying the Romanian government not to get it developed, and these NGOs have associations with Hungary, and Hungary feels entitled to land in Romania where this gold lies. And you go talk to the residents near the potential mine, and they all want the mine. They need the money. They're poor. Their girlfriends need consumer goods. The boyfriends are lonely. There's a film called Mind Your Own Business. Talks about that.
But see, what Soros will do is, and they did this in Austin, some of the same groups, they come in and say, you can't build on this 15,000 acres owned by 20-something ranchers. We're not going to let you build on it. The property value falls by 95%. Then they come back 5 years later and they say, we'll give you 10 cents on the dollar for the land. And then as soon as they have it, the mayor that did it opens his own bank and gives the land to himself publicly, makes Madoff look like and then just openly builds hotels and houses on it. And if you don't like it, a SWAT team will drop by and murder you and your family. I mean, you know. That's how it works here in Austin. It's like, we rule you, we own you, you are slaves, we have weapons, we have men in black uniforms who love to kill people. Shut up, we own you now. Shut up, drink the tap water, drink the poison, shut up. Bob Chapman, stay there. I'm going to come back to you in 70 seconds as we enter the fourth and final hour and take more calls. I mean, it's really tough watching criminals run wild and steal land and property and people's children and spike the water supply and openly announce they're going to cut off our resources and arrest you if you have more than one child and enforce it to the Chinese model, and our government praising the Chinese model. Notice, Bob Chapman, overnight we've gone from decrying China's secret arrest and infanticide and taking political dissidents' organs, which is all admitted, to suddenly just saying none of it exists. China's wonderful. We love China. They've been positioned to be the muscle for the New World Order. Do you agree with that statement?
I think that's a good one, and I would think that if there's disruption in the United States, they would be the first ones who would be called to bring in troops.
And by the way, if people can't believe that, NLE09, 4 months ago, FEMA, just Google NLE, National Level Exercise 09, and it says troops from 14 countries are here training with us to put down a U.S. rebellion. Open public foreign troops, Bob.
That's right. And they were here for, 6 weeks?
Yeah. They actually just kept it going. They just scaled it down after 6 weeks. I mean, you can't make this type of stuff up. BB in North Carolina. BB, you're on the air.
Good day, gentlemen. I just wanted to have a question for you on Bob Chapman. Is Obama preparing for civil war in U.S.? This article is even more disturbing than all the other stuff, even with the global warming fraud. And the,
Who wrote that? Who wrote that? Guys, print me that article. Is Obama preparing for civil war in the U.S.? Who wrote that?
Yes, sir. It's Chuck Baldwin. It's on your website. But I think the only thing more horrible or terrible would be a civil war.
FEMA admits they're preparing for civil war, so yes.
Right. The only thing I could think worse than civil war would be general strategic thermonuclear warfare. But what I want
bioweapons are even worse.
Right. What I would like to ask you and Bob Chapman was Webster Tarpley talks in his books. I've got all his books from your info shop, and he talked about that Obama could possibly usher in civil war. A general meltdown, disintegration of the U.S. banking at some point next year, the thermodynamic breakdown in the economy, bank runs, that would precipitate a civil war. And what Igor Panarin talks about, the collapse of the U.S. and late June, early July, starting in 2010. I'll take your comments off the air. Thank you.
Bob Chapman, comments.
Well, Panarin has said that, and he is also looking for a collapse in the financial system in the United States, and, of course, it'll spread throughout the world. No one will be spared.
And that's by design to consolidate power.
Exactly. And I'm expecting that there will, late in 2010, there will be a meeting of all countries' representatives, and I think they'll revalue, devalue currencies. I think that the U.S. government will devalue. No one knows for sure what the devaluation will be in numbers, but I backed into it, having done this sort of thing for many years, and I think it's going to be one new one for $3 old. And I think that there will be a settlement between countries of debt, and I think 2/3 of it will be written off. How this will affect the average person with the devaluation in the United States, I don't know. Logic would have us believe if you had a $100,000 loan and there was a devaluation by 2/3, then your loan would be payable back at $32,500. But there's no logic in Washington, and there's no logic among the Illuminati. They do what they want to do. So goodness knows what can happen. But it does not look good. It could last another 6 months into 2011 for this devaluation, but I think it's coming. I've written about it just recently.
Well, Bob, stay there. Stay there. We're going to talk about the international forecaster, how folks get a copy when we come back, and tell people what a devaluation will do to us economically. And if that isn't enough, a bunch of carbon taxes on top of it. The goal, bankrupt the industrial. We had Ron Paul on with us at the very start of the first hour for a half hour. And he said that he had to go at 12:30, 11:30 Central, to go vote, and he said he believed it would pass and that it was a strong bill. Sweeping bank reform bill clears House. Measure aimed at preventing another big financial crisis. Imposes more oversight and creates Consumer Protection Agency. And they hide in here that it has the provision to audit the Federal Reserve. They certainly don't want to trumpet that. Bob Chapman, comment on that, and then what dollar devaluation will look like so people understand how serious it is.
Well, it will inhibit the flow of business within a country or